Good morning. How are y'all doing today? Yeah, I know I was a couple minutes late starting the stream, but sometimes things just happen. Good morning, Ms. Rahman. How is you doing? How are you feeling today? I hope you're feeling better than what you have been the past few days. Oh, I tell you, today's stream was 50-50. From the time I got up till even the moment I hit the go live button, it was 50-50. But I'm hoping to get through this. Uh, but we shall see. We shall see. Uh, where do I want to start at here? Do I want to start with that? No. I want to start with this here first. I know I don't think I have anybody in Ohio in this group. Okay. But as a Christian, I've got to bring this up. Because if we don't keep our own house clean, nobody's going, I mean, all it does is make us look bad to the rest of the world. There's a church in Ohio called the Faith Life Church with a pastor, Gary Keesee, Keesee. And they've got a big problem. And there's going to need to be multiple people, including most likely the pastor, his wife, their son, and at least one other person going to go to prison. And hopefully for very, very long times. As the son and at least one other person have so far have got 11 accusations of sexual abuse of children. And the pastor and his wife have been covering it up and gaslighting the church, the congregation, into not believing the accusations. Now, nothing has gone to court yet. Nothing's been proven in court. That being said, if this turns out to be true, it goes to court and it has turned out, and they've got at least two different police forces, law enforcement agencies investigating this whole mess. And if this turns out to be true and convictions are acquired, I hope their sentences are long and dirty. Because one, abusing children, minors, is never acceptable, especially in that way. But doing it under the cover of being a youth minister, I've got, I know I'm supposed to forgive those, but I can't, I find it extremely difficult to find it in my heart to forgive anybody who uses the church and the Bible as a way of getting to children and abusing them. abusing anybody, regardless of their age, but especially abusing children or the elderly. I know it's wrong of me to say I cannot forgive them, but I would find it extremely difficult to do so. But first thing is they've got to do their thing. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that out front. All right. Oh, Hawaiian rolls taste like soap? Oh, no. I made the wife soft scrambled eggs with ham this morning. Didn't even add cheese because she just wanted something really light. So I took some sandwich ham and cut it up and soft scrambled some eggs for her. A little bit of salt and pepper. And she barely ate that. So I hope whatever she's not feeling like, whatever's making her feel the way she is, I don't catch. Because while I'm not a big fan of soft scrambled eggs to start with, I can't think of a way when that, I mean, oh, definitely wood chipper for them people as far as I'm concerned there, ramen. But anyway, I got that out, and that's a story I've been following for about a week and a half now. And I hadn't said anything because I was waiting to see what was going to go on. But when two different law enforcement agencies announced that they're investigating it now, it was time for me to say something. You know, Trump has really caused some problems here with the Democrats. And the biggest problem I'm seeing they're having is they are defending, in order to attack Trump and what he's doing with Elon and Doge. Getting in there and giving full transparency to the American people where our money's being spent. The Democrats are having to step up there and defend it and attack Trump and Elon for exposing this money to the American people. Money that is making at least 50% of the country mad that's being spent that way when there's so much need inside of our country. Hey, Fury, how you doing today? And it has gotten so bad for the Democrats that, where is that article at? Here we go. Here's a town hall article. Doctors warn of real crisis among Democrats following Trump's victory. A doctor has raised alarm over what he describes as a real crisis with the Democratic Party. According to the physician, the party is grappling with a deep identity and leadership crisis exacerbated by Trump's triumph, leading to internal struggles and a loss of direction. This analysis highlights the challenge Democrats face as they navigate changing political landscape, with their strategies and messagings increasingly under scrutiny. And there is another article claiming that the Democrats, or many Democrats, are having mental health crises because of it. Because they don't know. They're saying, it's like Trump's doing something that needs to be done, but we don't like it because he's doing it. If it's anybody else doing it, we'd love it. If it's one of our people doing it, we'd love it. But since it's Trump and Elon, we can't abide by this having done. They're even getting judges to try to countermand Trump's executive orders. Now, of course, it's going to take a couple of days for Trump to appeal. But see, this is something I've said before time and time again. The Democrats are quick to pull in judges to take Republicans to court when they make a decision that Democrats don't like. But the Republicans never do it back. The Republicans never avail themselves to the same process. Now, I can understand why the Republicans don't like doing it. Because that's setting up that every step that a president makes has to first go through the judicial branch to be approved, which is not the way it's supposed to be. But as long as we have highly partisan judges that are willing to make these rulings, then it's going to happen. Now, I'm not going to doubt there's some partisan judges on the Republican that have been put in place by Republicans in the past or in the future. And maybe it's because the Republicans in Congress don't avail themselves to this tactic as much as the Democrats do, that the Republican judges don't have the same reputation as these Democrat judges do. At least in my eyes, from what I've seen. But these Democrat judges are absolutely horrendous when it comes to supporting the Democratic Party against Republican presidents. It seemed to have started back during the Reagan era. Then Bush. Then Bush again. Then definitely Trump the first time. Now, part of the problem with Trump the first time was being new to politics. He didn't know every step that he had to take. So he made some fatal missteps. But now he's not making those same mistakes, but the Democrats are still getting judges to do it. Like when he ordered that there be a 90-day freeze on government spending, except for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, paychecks, et cetera, et cetera. And FEMA, the same organization that said that they would not go to any home in a disaster area that had Trump sign out front, because just being a Trump supporter was scary to their people, turned around and ignored the orders by the president that for 90 days they would cut no checks. And in violation of that executive order, they sent out a check last week to luxury New York City hotels to house illegals for $59 million. And once again, let me remind you, like I have to, that the Biden administration told FEMA that they could only offer $700 or $750 if the people qualified for it. In Florida, Tennessee, and North Carolina, as a result of hurricane damages. They could only find $750 per person or per household. But they had no problem finding $59 million to put illegals up in. And remember, Mayorkas went on national television claiming that FEMA didn't have enough money to make it through the fiscal year. Well, when they're spending $59 million at a shot to house illegal aliens, yeah, I can see why they ran out of money so quickly. Why is FEMA, a federal emergency management agency, spending money to house illegals? I'm sorry, but that just don't make sense to me. Because illegals they're not here as an emergency. They willingly came across the border. They weren't forced here by a hurricane or a flood or a tornado. They came across the border of their own free will, at their own convenience. It's not an emergency that they're here. The emergency was brought on by them being here because Mayorkas And Biden and Kamala refused to shut down the damn border. The best they said they would do is allow 1,500 a day to come across the border. That was the best they could do, 1,500 a day. In less than 3 weeks, Trump's already got that beat. Now, see, I love this article here. Elon Musk claimed Monday morning the Federal Emergency Management Agency sent a staggering $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. The world's richest man. Why not just say the head of Doge? Why bring up the fact he's the world's richest man? That doesn't matter. That's not part of his job description here to be with Doge. Claimed in an early morning post on X that the funneled emergency funds were just discovered by his Department of Government Efficiency, as President Trump called for a complete overhaul of FEMA that would even see it shuttered. Saying this money violated the law is a gross insubordination to the president's executive order. And it was a gross insubordination because Trump said no more money to go out except for the exceptions that he listed. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. A clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order to create a council to review FEMA as he expressed concerns over there being serious concerns of political bias in the agency. Well, yeah, no fake when they blatantly admit that if they had a Trump sign in front of their house, their people weren't even going to talk to them. It reminds me of a video I saw. I don't know if it was a skit or what. There was a guy supposedly gone into an emergency room or to a doctor's office. See a doctor. And he's wearing a MAGA hat, one of the red MAGA hats. And the doctor said that she was refusing to see him because he was wearing that MAGA hat, that she had the right to refuse to see him. This was a black female doctor, supposedly. Now, like I said, I don't know if that was a skit or not. You never know with these videos you see. Home shot videos. You never know if they're skits or not. And that's the thing that too many people take these skits as being hardcore truth, and they're not necessarily the truth. Oh yeah, you're right, Raman. There's been those on the left said they want to put us into re-education camps because we don't see the world the same way they do. But they're the inclusive ones. They're the ones, with that wide umbrella. Get down here and see if there's more to this article. And FEMA, Trump says he wants to get rid of FEMA. I don't think getting rid of FEMA is exactly what's needed, but definitely getting rid of everybody in it and rebuild it from scratch. And maybe the only way to do that is to trash it and start all over again, the whole new organization. Because there's too many things that have gotten into FEMA, into our government entirely. These deep staters that have poisoned our government. There's a article that come up that Trump is, with these layoffs and firings and the volunteer, the fork in the road thing, that it's hurting Black people more than anybody else. Well, the problem with that stat, and that stat is true, but that's simply because 1 in 5 Blacks, almost 25% of the Blacks in America work for the government, between federal, state, and local governments. 1 in 5, 20% of the Black population works in a government position. So when government starts laying people off, when government starts reducing in size, and minorities and women hardest hit. That's because minorities and women make up the largest number of employees. If you think about it, you go to any local office, government office. It's staffed almost entirely by females. On occasion, you'll see a male in there, but mostly it's all staffed by females. And sometimes, and I hate to say this, I know this is going to make me sound racist, but y'all know better. I've gone in to talk to somebody at a local office, and I don't speak Ebonics. But that's just me. Now, FEMA has released a statement, after Musk sent that out. FEMA says it's halting payments for migrant housing in New York. The acting head of FEMA said Monday that he's suspending payments sent to New York to house migrants, illegals, and the staff who made them will be held accountable. When they said held accountable, they've sort of insinuated they're going to be fired. Get up here. Cameron Hamilton. How's that for a name? Acting administrator of FEMA reposted Musk's comments and said the payments were suspended as of Sunday. Musk gave no evidence to support his claim. And the information from the city of New York indicated the money received to care for migrants was appropriated by Congress and allocated to the city last year by FEMA. The city hadn't been notified by any pause in funding. Now, New York was a sanctuary city. Please send us here. We welcome everybody. That's before they start getting everybody. Before Abbott, DeSantis too, but mostly Abbott, started shipping all these illegals to New York and other sanctuary cities. They want to be sanctuary cities? Fine, let's send them these illegals and let them deal with it. And once the cities blew through their own budgets, they went crying to the federal government. And Mayorkas started sending FEMA money to help pay for these illegals. Which it would have been a hell of a lot cheaper just to deport them in the long run. It would have been a lot cheaper to build the wall, stop them from crossing, and as they were caught, send them back across. I hate to say that we're turning into a country of show your papers or be deported. Especially in parts of the country that there are large Hispanic communities. And large numbers of people who don't speak English, even though they've been here for decades and they are legally in the country. We went through the same thing with Italians back over 100 years ago. We went through the same thing with Chinese. Went through the same thing with Japanese. Where large groups of people immigrated, mostly legal, coming through Paris Island on the East Coast, and I don't remember where they came through on the West Coast. And entered the country legally, and then settled in communities of other people like themselves. And you had people that did not speak English. They spoke Japanese, Chinese, Italian, German to some extent, or Pennsylvanian Dutch. But these people, so how do we, in order to actually catch these illegals, we have to catch them at the border as they're crossing. That's what we have to do. Now, granted, if you come across a semi truck and that trailer is filled with 150, 200 people, it's a pretty good guess if they're all here illegally. You go to a workshop, a construction site, and they ask to review the employee records. Okay. Short of running the e-verify, maybe they've got to have ways I don't know about. Well, I'm curious as to how they can determine who is an illegal in the country once, if they're in the country illegally, they've never been captured or anything else. They don't have court dates. They don't have the Obama phones. They don't have any of that stuff. Now, I know if I'm walking down the street and I got some cop pull up to me and says he wants to see my ID, I'm going to tell him to go get bent. Because that's a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights. So how do they know where the people who've crossed the border illegally and have never been in the system, how do they know where they're at? Until they go to get a job and they don't have a Social Security number, or they give a Social Security number and this is another problem that Elon discovered that I never thought would have existed. If you would have told me this problem existed, had me make a bet on this problem existing, I would have bet against it existing. I would have bet $1,000. Social Security numbers can be duplicated, meaning more than one person can have the same Social Security number. When I heard that on the news the other day, I was absolutely floored. That there is nothing in the system to prevent two different people from having the same Social Security number. I believe the term used was deduplicable. And that absolutely floored me when I heard about that. But New York City is a little upset that they're not going to get that $56 million to pay for those illegals that they've been harboring. And guess what? I couldn't care less. I could not care less that New York City is upset. Now, just to keep going here along this line, with Doge, there is an article for today, an opinion piece by Matthew Rose. And let me share this here. See if I can, from the New York Times. Among the challenges posed by President Trump is that he scrambles Americans' ability to distinguish the signal from the noise, especially when the noise is the point. So when 5 former Treasury secretaries, is that anything like 51 former intelligence agency heads? When the New York Times or the Democrats in general come up and say, we've got X number former so-called experts, intelligence agency heads, or in this case, 5 former Treasury secretaries, right there is a huge red flag not to believe a word they're saying. So, on 5 former Treasury secretaries who served a combined 18 years in office, so that's 3 years on each secretary. Okay? On average, 3 years for each person. Three and a half years, maybe, over 3 administrations. Team up out concerned, there's good indication we have a problem. No, team, it tells you that you've got 5 former Treasury secretaries who are politically biased and think by teaming up, they're going to get be able to do the same stunt of that the 51 former intelligence agents, oh my God, you got all these experts saying this, so they got to be right. No, just as the 51 weren't right, that doesn't mean these 5 are right. We take the extraordinary step of writing this piece because we are alarmed about the risk of arbitrary and capricious political control of federal payments, which would be unlawful and corrosive to our democracy. And okay, who is it? Robert E. Rubin, Lawrence Summers, Timothy Gaither, Jacob Lew, and Janet Yellen. Oh, Janet Yellen. Man, Janet Yellen. Right there tells you all you need to know about these 5 people. Janet Yellen's involved in this. The payment systems they referenced used to be nonpartisan function operated by career civil servants. The career civil servants who are the same people that sit there and say, we don't give a shit. We don't give a damn what the president says, what our boss says we are going to do. We're going to do it like we see fit anyway. We're members of the deep state. I will not forget that the videos released during Trump's first term in office of career civil servants putting out videos on YouTube and TikTok saying that they didn't care what Trump had to say. They're going to continue doing what they were doing. Or, yeah, we'll get around to implementing his changes, his policies when we get around to it. It may be a while, though. And meanwhile, they're out doing fundraisers, they're making banners or posters or such for Democrats. By career civil servants to ensure that spending approved by Congress gets paid out, whether Social Security recipients. Scare tactic, because number one, the executive order that Trump signed expressly exempted Social Security, Medicare, and other such checks. or the government debt holders expecting interest payments. So they've already told at least one lie there. Now, as the secretary's right, that effort has been compromised by political actors from the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. The entity helmed by Elon Musk is tearing through the federal bureaucracy and exposing the corruption in that federal bureaucracy, exposing the money being spent or sent to even enemies of our country. Musk's initiative is supposedly looking for fraud. The secretary say allowing inexperienced and partisan officials in the system raises data privacy. Cybersecurity and national security risk, not to mention constitutional issues if the officials instruct the Treasury to withhold payments lawfully appropriated by Congress. You mean like the money lawfully appropriated by Congress to build the wall during Trump's first term? That Biden administration sold pieces of that wall off for pennies on the dollar rather than building the wall. Now it's a concern. It wasn't a concern during the Biden administration when he wasn't spending the money that Congress had appropriated for national security. Give me a freaking break. And, you know, what a way to throw, you go to Best Buy and you apply for a Best Buy credit card. Guess what? You're putting down your Social Security number. When you apply for a Best Buy credit card, you go to Walmart and you apply for a credit card, not one of their preload debit cards, but a credit card. Guess what? You're giving somebody your Social Security number when you fill out that paperwork. You're giving it to some minimum wage employee there at Walmart or at Best Buy or Target. And I heard somebody else raise up comments saying, well, you know, how many 18, 19, and 20-year-olds have top secret clearances? Guess what? Damn near every one of them in the military who works on aircraft has got a top secret clearance. Damn near every one of them has got a secret clearance. Every member of the military has got a secret clearance at a minimum. So, don't this nonsense idea that these guys are too young to have security clearances or understand what they're doing. These 5 people that Musk has working for him on Doge, every one of them's a freaking genius in their own right. America is also running potential explosive financial risk. Any sign the United States starts picking and choosing among its obligations would represent a breach of trust, especially to the bondholders skittish over years of brinkmanship to the debt ceiling. You mean, yeah, you know, the debt ceiling, you know, because we're paying $59 million to house illegals. That's just to house them. That doesn't include feeding them. That doesn't include clothing them. That doesn't include giving them cell phones. That's just for them to have a place to sleep. And that's just in one city. That's not all 20 million illegals that's in the country. We've got a spending problem in this country, and a lot of it has to do with illegals. Not all of it, but a good share of it. Another good share of it is, DEI projects in other countries, funding DEI projects in other countries, funding gay, lesbian, and transsexual projects in other countries. Oh, but it's only $37,000. Oh, it's only $20,000. How much help could that $20,000 have given to a group of an American family here in the United States? That 37,000. That $500,000 that was spent. How much help could that have given an American family suffering as a result of a natural disaster or a major fire that burned out half of Los Angeles? There's an old saying, if you watch after the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Not that we're going to have pennies for much longer, from what I understand. I didn't realize it cost almost 4 cents, to manufacture a single penny. That's why Trump and them are looking real hard at eliminating the penny, because it costs more than what the coin is worth. Hey, Neil, you say the Dodge clock, that's how much money they found as being inappropriately spent, that $82 billion. Where'd you get that from? I'd like to know. Because I've been trying to find something in one place that has, because I haven't looked at see if Doge.gov has updated their website to actually show something. Oh, the U.S. debt clock. Okay. I'll be honest, I never thought about looking at the debt clock. Is that list the actual individual things, or is that just a cumulative? Because I've been looking for something that gave the actual individual, expenditures that they found and where they went. Now, still, the okay, this here's the AP. The AP is still trying to push us to be sympathetic to migrants, okay? Because these aren't illegals yet. They're still on the Mexican side of the border. Margelis Rodriguez and her 2 children took selfies on their flight to Tijuana, showing off the t-shirts she had custom made to mark what she expected to be her family's life-changing moment. On the back of the shirts were their names and the flags of the 6 countries they passed through in 2024. 6 countries. On the front, between the flags of her native Venezuela and the United States, was written in Spanish, "Yes, it was possible. Thank God the wait was worth it. I made it." So they traveled through 6 countries, from Venezuela to Mexico. And none of those 6 countries were good enough. Thanks, Neil. None of those 6 countries were good enough for her and her family to settle in. Nope. They had to come to the United States. Absolutely had to come to the United States. The celebratory words now sting, driving home how close they came to making it and how precarious their lives are now that their future more uncertain than ever. Rodriguez said while standing near the tent her family lives in the shelter in Tijuana, blocked from the towering wall marking the U.S. border. Thank God for that towering wall. I was hoping they actually had a picture of those shirts, but they didn't have it. The families among tens of thousands of people who had appointments into February, many of them left stranded in the Mexican border cities after Donald Trump took office. As part of the broader immigration crackdown, his administration quickly canceled all appointments people had made through the U.S. government app. Under Biden administration, the CBP One app facilitated the entry of nearly 1 million people since January 2023. And supporters say helping people bring order to the border and reduce illegal crossings. Hell yeah, when you say everybody's legally crossed, when you don't have any rules, when you don't have any requirements, we don't have anything sitting there saying that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that in order to cross our border legally, then hell yeah, there's going to be fewer illegals crossing the border because you're not putting any requirements. You're not putting any restrictions. It's a wide open nozzle. They all fit. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol estimates 280,000 people were trying to get appointments each day. Many of them after traveling to Mexico. Some returned home, others left shelters vowing to cross the border illegally. I'm surprised Mexico hasn't shut down their southern border. If Mexico shut down their southern border to all these groups, yeah, exactly, Raman. I'm tired of getting sucked into these. They cause these problems themselves. And Mexico has not helped. Not one bit. Rodriguez flew to Tijuana with her 12-year-old and 6-year-old on January 19th, the day before Trump was sworn in. A Venezuelan friend in Chicago had a job for her at a factory, a place to live, and a school for her children. She cried. It felt like it was being punched, she said. But she still went to the port of entry with her children at 5 a.m. and waited 7 hours hoping to be called. They never were. Oh, wow. Now, she's saying she won't put her children to risk by trying to enter the U.S. illegally. Well, give her credit for that. We are not the world's savior. Our country, the United States, cannot be the world's savior. We've got too many problems of our own. We're in debt, trillions of dollars. Trying to save the world. And do we get any help from the world? No. They look to us like, we're that sure daddy. And the world is that 18-year-old girlfriend depending on us to keep her out of trouble. Like we've got an endless stockpile of money. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing our taxes going up and up and up to fund things like this. Now, PBS has got their own little issues going on. PBS caves to Trump out staffers. We have closed our DEI office. That makes me happy. If PBS was entirely private and took no government money whatsoever, then I couldn't care less, like Costco. Costco is one of the few companies still publicly announcing they're keeping their DEI. And it was kind of funny. They held that big rally at a Costco not too long, just a couple days ago. And it was going to be a boycott, not a boycott. And I believe it was Sharpton did it. And he bought a bunch of gift cards and passed out to people that they brought in. Mostly black people. Gave them all these gift cards and held this huge rally and speech in front of Costco that they were all going to go in and spend this money at Costco and do a boycott, not a boycott. We're going to buy from Costco because we want to show them how much we appreciate that they're keeping DEI in place. And what happened? Most of them left. Most of the people never even went in. Hey, Leslie, good morning. A lot of times it sure as hell feels that way, doesn't it? Most of the people did not even go into that Costco to spend that money. The free money they were given to go into Costco to show them thanks for keeping DEI in place. Yeah, they all showed up for the speeches and yeah, we're here to support Costco until it came time to actually spend some money to support Costco. And then they all scattered like a bunch of no matter what I say, they all scattered. And everything I could think of saying what they scattered like could be taken as derogatory comments. So I'm not going. You fill in your own uh, phrase that you need to put in there to make that mind picture of all these people scattering as soon as the speeches are over with, rather than spend any money. But anyway. The Public Broadcasting Service announced Monday evening that it closes Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office in order to comply with the executive order signed by President Donald Trump. PBS also said the staffers in that office had left the company, but would continue to serve Americans of all backgrounds. Now, that's the way it should be. Serving Americans. All right, and that's as far as they need to say. We are here to serve Americans. You don't need to throw that qualifier in. We're serving Americans of all backgrounds. We're here to serve all Americans. End of conversation. A spokesman with the nonprofit distributor of educational programming, which receives government funding, told The Hollywood Reporter the office had been shuttered. Yay, that's good. The Hollywood Reporter noted that the move to close the unit comes after Trump issued a number of executive orders aimed at cutting DEI programs on a federal level and among federal contractors as well as private companies. And as PBS faces an investigation by the Federal Commissions Commission, followed by repeated threats by Trump. And I don't understand what the investigation is about. Let's see here. Oh, taxpayer dollars being used to support a for-profit endeavor in Denver, or an entity that is airing commercial advertisements, and that further undermine any case for continuing to fund NPR and PBS with taxpayer dollars. We've got to be doing something. PBS is notoriously left-wing, as is NPR. Notoriously left-wing. They've both had people come out that have worked for these organizations and talk about, and all you got to do is watch their programming to know how left-wing they are, because their programming itself is left-wing. And some of the, with my grandchildren, I watch some of this programming because when my grandson comes over, after we bring him in the house to cool down after playing outside. He wants to watch TV. We let him watch a little bit of TV. But we've gotten to the point now where we pick what off of, we don't pull up PBS and such, or even Disney. We pull up stuff off of YouTube that we approve of, children's programming. Getting a lemon bar and blueberry loaf later. Thank you, Costco. Ooh. I've never been in a Costco. I've only been into Sam's. Now the Politico. Remember the Politico here. This next article I'm sharing with you all is out of Politico. And remember, the Politico was one of the organizations getting funded from USAID. In fact, rumors has it that Politico could not meet its payroll, and they had to start laying people off. So I'm surprised here that this article is from today. But it is, and they actually have 3 people writing it. So if you expect this article to be kind to President Trump and the Republicans, it's not going to be. I'll tell you that right now. Because the Politico is mad that they lost a lot of their money, their income. Because USAID got it cut off. Whack. Marie Antoinette didn't get hit harder than Politico did. Strong poll numbers and weaker than expected resistance are emboldening President Donald Trump and his allies to push harder in their war against the federal government. But some Trump allies believe the next program on the chopping block could prove more politically dicey. The early targets of billionaire Elon Musk and conservative technocrat Russ Vought, including USAID, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, were chosen because they carry low political risk. No, USAID was chosen because they decided to violate Trump's executive orders. So you go to where the fire is. These agencies are little known and opaque to most Americans. Now, most of us know of all of them, especially NOAA. Meanwhile, Trump and his allies have sold them to their bases, examples of unchecked bureaucracy that is aiding other countries, creating more red tape, researching climate change, or promoting policies out of step with their agenda. It didn't take much to sell them. When an organization is explicitly funding trans surgery for children, when an agency is explicitly funding DEI operas and DEI comic books and transgender comic books and all this other crap, it's not much of a hard sell. It really isn't that much of a hard sell. You gotta light the things on fire that burn the brightest and had the most distinctive smell of waste and fraud, said one White House ally. A White House official granted anonymity to speak, described the early moves of the agency as low-hanging fruit. Well, all right. They probably were low-hanging fruit, easily recognizable as being wasteful money spending. The next phase of dismantling, which is likely to include the Department of Education. The Department of Education does need to go. Department of Defense. The Department of Defense, unless they've gotten rid of all their DEI bullshit, it needs to go. It needs to be. There's a lot of, you can't tell me there's not a waste. in the Department of Defense coming out of the Pentagon. I'm not going to say it's coming out of the units per se, individual units. I spent almost 3 years as the resource advisor for my unit in the Air Force. My job was to oversee all the spending our unit did, from boots to safety gear, to how much money we spent on TDYs, to how much money we spent on fixing aircraft, to even how much money we spent on sending people to jail or kicking them out. Yes, it costs money. It costs the individual units money to kick somebody out of the military or to send them to Leavenworth. The unit themselves have to pay for that. And I did that for almost 3 years. And every year I had this lady come down from the Pentagon to go through my books. The first year I had to go through that was one scary. Hey, Josh, good morning. That was one scary issue because I'd never been through a Pentagon level audit before. And she come in and she went through, and I computerized all my files and and I did something the other units weren't doing, is I put all my stuff either in Access or Excel. And when she wanted me to pull up my files I asked her, well, how do you want it? Da, 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 da. And I pulled them up exactly she wanted and gave her all the printouts. And she was really happy with the way I did it. And I could account for every penny our unit spent. And we didn't have any expenditures come out as being questionable expenditures. Because I was pretty hard-nosed about it. Like the day I told a lieutenant colonel, not only no, but hell no, I'm not buying beer taps for the officers, for the pilot's bar in the ops lounge. And he looked at me and goes, who in the hell do you think you are to tell me no? I'm telling you to order these. And I told him no. I said, if you want those orders, you go to the commander and have him order them. I'm not ordering them for you. Commander called me in the office to ask me what all the hubbub was about because he heard my name being used in vain. I told him. And I told him exactly what I said. Not only no, but hell no. And he goes, well, you probably could have chose a little better phraseology, but you got your point across. You weren't going to buy those things, were you? I said, no. And I told him if he really wanted them squadron money to be used for him, to take them to you and let you order them yourself. Because I wouldn't do it. I wasn't going to have my fingerprints anywhere near those things. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, you don't want to be sharing that jail cell next to me, do you? Because that was the one threat, any money spent, him and I were both held liable for all money spent within the unit. And neither one of us wanted to go to jail. So I don't worry too much about the units misspending money. And if there is any money being wastefully spent is at the directives of at the command levels. And you really don't have a choice when command level generals are ordering you to spend money for certain things. All you can do is tell them to put it in writing, and then you do it. Wow, wait a minute. Had a cup of tea, then you took a nap. So now you have a hot water bottle beneath your body. Okay. But yeah, there's one of the TikToks that absolutely made me furious that I saw was I want to say it was a major making it, female major, Air Force, if I remember correctly. And she was bragging about how DEI was such a wonderful thing for the military. And she fully supported DEI. Now, this is a woman in uniform talking about how they were promoting people based upon DEI principles. So obviously, I sent back a message, posted to her thing, a little thing about, so how does it feel about being racist against white, straight, about promoting everybody except straight white Christian men? And she didn't like that comment too much. Because if you look at DEI and you're going you're going to promote people based on DEI, a straight white Christian male would be the absolute last person promoted, regardless of their qualifications. They would be the last person. Because a gay white male, well, he's gay, so he's part of that diversity and equity and inclusion. Well, he's not white, so he's automatically. Well, he's a Muslim or an atheist or whatever, so he's part of that diversity. Everybody's part of that diversity except straight, white, Christian male. If you have those four monikers, labels attached to you, you could, under DEI, you can forget getting hired or getting promoted if you do get hired. Because you are what is wrong with the world. Well, wait, why is it only 5 degrees in your apartment, dude? Good God. Oh, that's right. Your guys' electric heating bills are outrageous. I forgot about that. I just remembered that. You got your guys' heating bills are out stupidly outrageous. And the Department of Health and Human Services, there's definitely got to be some problems in there. I wouldn't be surprised to see half of their budget being wasteful. They risk destabilizing an administration that until now has spoken with one voice, creating tension within the MAGA coalition and jeopardizing poll numbers that show support over the weekend that Trump, for the first time as president, is joining a majority support. Right now, I'm fully supporting almost everything Trump is doing. There are some issues with Trump that I don't agree with. But there's always going to be issues with Trump that I don't agree with. Just like there were issues with Reagan I didn't agree with, and either one of the Bushes. I don't agree with our governor, DeSantis, all the time. I strongly disagree with that 25-foot buffer zone he put around police for recording them. But he did it. I let him know I disagreed with him, and he did it anyway. He evidently has enough people that agree with him that he wasn't worried about me disagreeing. And that's fine. That's called living in the government that we have. Agree with what you can and disagree with what you need to. But yeah, we're going to find. But the Pentagon's going to have a ton of waste. We had the fraud, waste, and abuse programs when I was back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yeah, my 20 years crossed from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. And that's just something we've got to do. You'd burn $20, 20 pounds or more a day just to heat your flat up. Wow. Thanks, Neil. But see, the Democrats and Schumer, they have got their own little plans here. Schumer reveals Dem counteroffensive against Trump's DOJ audit. And this here's the part that gets me. Why are the Democrats so hell-bent on knowing our national financial situation is the way it is? Why are they so hell-bent on pushing us over that edge to the point that we can't even afford to make the payments on the interest, let alone pay down the debt? Chuck Schumer's unveiled on Monday the Democrats' counteroffensive plan against the broad government audit being conducted by President Trump's temporary agency, the Department of Government Efficiency. Senate Democrats have a responsibility to fight back on behalf of American families as Republicans look the other way in obedience to Donald Trump. We're not looking the other way. We're looking the same way as Trump is, wanting to get rid of to get a handle on what we're spending. When my wife come home from work yesterday, she asked me how my day went. I said, well, dear, I spent $700 on house insurance today. And she goes, what? I said, yeah. Then I spent $400 on termites control for the year. And she goes, no. I said, yeah. Then I spent $160 on our electric bill today. And she's just sitting there sitting back deeper and deeper and deeper in the couch, adding up this money. And she looks at me and she goes, could we afford all that? I said, dear, I've been saving all year for that. Because I know that $1,200 I'm going to be spending every February. I got to come up with $1,200 every February. So I put aside $100 a month to cover that $1,200 bill when it comes up. I budgeted for that money. But, I wanted to buy a pair of new shoes yesterday to fit my swollen feet. But I didn't do it because I knew I was spending all that other money. And it just hurt my soul to spend more money, that I'd spend even more money on top of that $1,200. It just really hurt my soul to do it. But we've got to, I don't understand why the Democrats are so against us finding this money that we spent that we didn't need to spend on stupid stuff. Yeah, it's money that, we're helping. The United States is helping women and minorities in other countries. We're helping the transsexuals in other countries. We're helping this and we're helping that. And that's feel-good money, but that's not money you have to spend as a country. That's that money you spend that you've got extra and no place else to spend it. It's like buying that new gun. Do I really need it? No. Do I want it? Yeah, but I don't really need it, and I don't want to go into debt for it. Or ladies buying the new pair of shoes or the new dress or the new outfit or the new whatever. So the Democrat, I don't understand. I don't understand the Democrats' thinking here. I really and truly don't. So what are the Democrats going to do? The Democrats are, let's see here. The Democratic leader explained the plan to fight Doge, headed by Trump-aligned billionaire special government employee Elon Musk, is a four-pronged. Schumer said the Democrats will take on the audit through oversight, litigation, legislation, communication, and mobilization. Now, I'm sorry, but they said four-pronged, but I count five there. Oversight's one, litigation is two, legislation is three, communication is four, and mobilization is five. I count five there, but so what they're going to do is they're going to overload it. According to Schumer, Democrats have begun conducting oversight by sending hundreds of inquiries. So they're going to overload them with paperwork. Make them spend more time doing paperwork than doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, when lawyers do that, they found that judges have a tendency to get a little pissed off when lawyers try to drown their opponents in paperwork. Well, that's exactly what what Schumer said he's going to plan to do here, is drown the Doge team in paperwork. Then he and Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs ranking member Gary Peters sent a letter to federal employees announcing a new portal for whistleblowers to report corruption, abuses of power, and threats to public safety. They're really going to concentrate on abuses of power and threats to public safety. They're not going to worry about corruption, because that corruption is all being performed by the Democrats. As for litigation, Schumer noted the court challenges are already bearing fruit. He cited federal court injunctions against the since rescinded Office of Management and Budget temporary funding freeze. Judges talked about this earlier. They've gone court shopping, find the liberal judges to rule the way they want to rule, to stop or hinder these guys from doing what Trump wants them to do. Our committee and here's another thing, our committee and my office are in regular communications with litigants across the country. So they're coordinating this. This is a mass coordination centered out Washington, D.C., across the country, in order to swamp Trump and the Doge team with so much paperwork and court filings and everything else that they simply don't have the time or manpower to answer everything and still do what they're supposed to be doing. And are actively exploring opportunities for the Democratic caucus to file amici curiae to support lawsuits. So this is all being centralized coordination throughout the country, through Washington, D.C., to hundreds of lawsuits. Now, see, I like the way Schumer puts this here. It is incumbent on responsible Republicans to get serious and work in a bipartisan fashion to avoid a Trump shutdown. If it shuts down, Schumer, it's because of you and the Democrats. You guys aren't the ones working in the See, I love the way they do this. It's incumbent upon the Republicans to act in bipartisanship. We don't have to act in bipartisanship because we're the ones who are right. It's them evil Republicans who have to act in a bipartisan manner. It's always the Republicans that aren't acting in a bipartisanship. The Democrats, we're the ones right. Therefore, we don't have to act as bipartisans to the Republicans, even though the Republicans have got majority control. And the people voted for them. They didn't vote for the Democrats to have control in any of the three offices. They gave control to the Republicans, not the Democrats. as we got so reminded constantly when the Democrats had control, how it was up to the Republicans to work with the Democrats. But now, when the Republicans have control, it's still the Republicans have to work with the Democrats. Exactly, Neil. Bipartisan to them means shut up and do what I say. Lastly, the minority leader said the Democrats in the Senate are working to keep the caucus informed and united to amplify the concerns to the public. And the public is responding. Grassroots energy is surging from town halls to protests. Americans are pushing back. Americans pushed back by voting for Trump and for the Republicans to have control of the House and Senate. As usual, this whole thing is, it's always one way. It's always a one-way street favoring the Democrats. But that's the way they do it. Let's see here. There's something I wanted to look at here. That's not it. Here, I thought I'd sent it to X, but I don't see it. Let me refresh my X. And no, it's not there. All right, guys. I know, 15 minutes early, what the hey. I've got to get ready for my weekly doctor's appointment. I want to thank y'all for coming out and listening to me rant and rave today. I appreciate it. Today seemed to all lie. Well, and honestly, we're going to end up spending so much time talking about these subjects because this is going to be what is going to be the main. I mean, Doge is going to be sort of the main topic for the next year or so. I can see that happening. I can see Doge being the political story of the next year or so, and it rightly deserves to be. And again, if the Democrats would get on board with it and say, yeah, we need to get rid of some of this stupid spending to get our spending under control, that would be great. And if they could put up a good argument for spending $37,000 on a transvestite dance show, or $20,000 on a DEI comic book, or a gay comic book in another country. They put up a good argument for it. Maybe the American people would agree that that was a good expenditure of our cash. But they're not willing to take on these things one case by case because they don't even want us to know that that's where the money's being spent. And that's what should concern every one of us. The Democrats don't even want us to know that that money's being spent that way. And that is what is scary as hell. So, everyone, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Be back Thursday unless something major happens tonight. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love. Love the ones that you're with. And you're exactly right, Neil. Have a good one.